B. The President of the United States is authorized to provide for the transfer to the corporation of the use, possession, and control of such other real or personal property of the United States as he may from time to time deem necessary and proper for the purposes of the corporation as herein stated. Section 8. A. The corporation shall maintain its principal office in the immediate vicinity of Muscle Shoals, Alabama. The corporation shall be held to be an inhabitant and resident of the Northern Judicial District of Alabama, within the meaning of the laws of the United States relating to the venue of civil suits. B. The corporation shall at all times maintain complete and accurate books of accounts. C. Each member of the board, before entering upon the duties of his office, shall subscribe to an oath, or affirmation, to support the Constitution of the United States, and to faithfully and impartially perform the duties imposed upon him by this act. Section 9. A. The board shall file with the President, and with the Congress, in December of each year, a financial statement and a complete report as to the business of the corporation covering the preceding governmental fiscal year. This report shall include an itemized statement of the cost of power at each power station, the total number of employees, and the names, salaries, and duties of those receiving compensation at the rate of more than $1,500 a year. B. The Comptroller General of the United States shall audit the transactions of the corporation at such times as he shall determine, but not less frequently than once each governmental fiscal year, with personnel of his selection. In such connection he and his representatives shall have free and open access to all papers, books, records, files, accounts, plants, warehouses, offices, and all other things, property, and places belonging to, or under the control of, or used or employed by the corporation, and shall be afforded full facilities for counting all cash and verifying transactions with and balance in depositories. He shall make report of each such audit in quadruplicate, 1 copy for the President of the United States, 1 for the Chairman of the Board, 1 for public inspection at the principal office of the corporation, and the other to be retained by him for the uses of the Congress. The expenses for each such audit may be paid from monies advanced therefor by the corporation, or from any appropriation or appropriations for the General Accounting Office, and appropriations so used shall be reimbursed promptly by the corporation, as billed by the Comptroller General. All such audit expenses shall be charged to operating expenses of the corporation. The Comptroller General shall make special report to the President of the United States and to the Congress of any transaction or condition found by him to be in conflict with the powers or duties entrusted to the corporation by law. Section 10. The Board is hereby empowered and authorized to sell the surplus power not used in its operations, and for operation of locks and other works generated by it, to states, counties, municipalities, corporations, partnerships, or individuals, according to the policies hereinafter set forth, and to carry out said authority, the Board is authorized to enter into contracts for such sale for a term not exceeding 20 years, and in the sale of such current by the Board it shall give preference to states, counties, municipalities, and cooperative organizations of citizens or farmers, not organized or doing business for profit, but primarily for the purpose of supplying electricity to its own citizens or members, provided that all contracts made with private companies or individuals for the sale of power, which is to be resold for a profit, shall contain a provision authorizing the Board to cancel said contract upon 5 years' notice in writing, if the Board needs said power to supply the demands of states, counties, or municipalities. In order to promote and encourage the fullest possible use of electric light and power on farms within reasonable distance of any of its transmission lines, the Board in its discretion shall have power to construct transmission lines to farms and small villages that are not otherwise supplied with electricity at reasonable rates, and to make such rules and regulations governing such sale and distribution of such electric power as in its judgment may be just and equitable. provided further that the board is hereby authorized and directed to make studies, experiments, and determinations to promote the wider and better use of electric power for agricultural and domestic use, or for small or local industries, and it may cooperate with state governments, or their subdivisions or agencies, with educational or research institutions, and with cooperatives or other organizations in the application of electric power to the fuller and better balanced development of the resources of the region. Section 11. It is hereby declared to be the policy of the government so far as practical to distribute and sell the surplus power generated at Muscle Shoals equitably among the states, counties, and municipalities within transmission distance. This policy is further declared to be that the projects herein provided for shall be considered primarily as for the benefit of the people of the section as a whole, and particularly the domestic and rural consumers to whom the power can economically be made available, and accordingly that sale to and use by industry shall be a secondary purpose, to be utilized principally to secure a sufficiently high load factor and revenue returns which will permit domestic and rural use at the lowest possible rates, and in such manner as to encourage increased domestic and rural use of electricity. It is further hereby declared to be the policy of the government to utilize the Muscle Shoals property so far as may be necessary to improve, increase, and cheapen the production of fertilizer and fertilizer ingredients by carrying out the provisions of this Act. Section 12. In order to place the board upon a fair basis for making such contracts, and for receiving bids for the sale of such power, it is hereby expressly authorized, either from appropriations made by Congress, or from funds secured from the sale of such power, or from funds secured by the sale of bonds hereafter provided for, to construct, lease, purchase, or authorize the construction of transmission lines within transmission distance from the place where generated, and to interconnect with other systems. The board is also authorized to lease to any person, persons, or corporation the use of any transmission line owned by the government and operated by the board, but no such lease shall be made that in any way interferes with the use of such transmission line by the board, provided that, if any state, county, municipality, or other public or cooperative organization of citizens or farmers, not organized or doing business for profit, but primarily for the purpose of supplying electricity to its own citizens or members, or any two or more of such municipalities or organizations, shall construct, or agree to construct and maintain a properly designed and built transmission line to the government reservation, upon which is located a government generating plant, or to a main transmission line owned by the government, or leased by the board, and under the control of the board is hereby authorized and directed to contract with such state, county, municipality, or other organization, or two or more of them, for the sale of electricity for a term not exceeding 30 years, and in such case the board shall give to such state, county, municipality, or other organization ample time to fully comply with any local law now in existence, or hereafter enacted providing for the necessary legal authority for such state, county, municipality, or other organization to contract with the board for such power, provided further that all contracts entered into between the corporation and any municipality or other political subdivision or cooperative organization shall provide that the electric power shall be sold and distributed to the ultimate consumer without discrimination as between consumers of the same class, and such contract shall be voidable at the election of the board if a discriminatory rate, rebate, or other special concession is made or given to any consumer or user by the municipality or other political subdivision or cooperative organization, and provided further that as to any surplus power not so sold as above provided to states, counties, municipalities, or other said organizations, before the board shall sell the same to any person or corporation engaged in the distribution and resale of electricity for profit, it shall require said person or corporation to agree that any resale of such electric power by said person or corporation shall be made to the ultimate consumer of such electric power at prices that shall not exceed a schedule fixed by the board from time to time as reasonable, just, and fair, and in case of any such sale, if an amount is charged the ultimate consumer which is in excess of the price so deemed to be just, reasonable, and fair by the board, the contract for such sale between the board and such distributor of electricity shall be voidable at the election of the board, and provided further that the board is hereby authorized to enter into contracts with other power systems for the mutual exchange of unused excess power upon suitable terms for the conservation of stored water, and, as an emergency or breakdown relief,